it's like saying I did it, I made it, I done it, you know. I used to say I did it because I made the decision, I took the decision. But I used to say I did it, but then Maritza, she said, it's because God alone, because God bless us.
Uh-huh.
Then I understood that yes, everything we have it is because God. Because God ultimately created us. So why should I say I did this? Yeah, now I say I thank God that I'm doing this, or thanks to God I'm able to do this. So ego is I did it, or
Yeah.
or I can say I am. Only God is the great I am. Yes. So
Okay. So pride, let's talk a little bit about pride. When do you feel your pride is getting out of hand? Can you tell when your pride is getting out of hand? I think, at least to me, it's when you start having a lot of jealous feelings. Then I say, that's a sign. Sunday had a really good point. Okay, pride is a feeling that you are more important or better than other people. Mm-hmm. You're shaking your head. You're going, no.
That's true, but we're forgetting we're born into sin, and there's many aspects of pride and sin. And like Lois said, pride can be from fear. You are trying to prove something that you are worthy, that you are somebody. And then you can have the other pride where maybe you've been spoiled and told you can do no wrong. And this is, you've got all these wonderful gifts. This person grows up pride and isn't totally aware of it until somebody would say something to them, and they're going to rebel because that's all they know. There's so many aspects to sin, and it all boils down to sin, pride, anything like that.
Right.
A sister of pride would be selfishness.
Yeah.
So there's not just, we can't get caught up in one word, because sin has many faces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's look at 1 John. 1 John 2. 1 John 2, 15 and 17. Here we go. 1 John 2:15. Do not love the world, nor the things in the world. Is that hard to do? To not love the things in the world? Very difficult. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. 16. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the boastful pride of life, is not from the Father, but it is from the world. Verse 17. The world is passing away, and also its lust, but one who does the will of God lives forever. Pretty simple, right? Again, it's very simple context here, right? Good morning. It's good to have you with us, young lady. Feel free to speak up. The more you talk, the less I do. That's not good. Okay. pretty straightforward, right? So why do we need this lesson?
I think this lesson is, in the beginning, I thought it was not kind of abstract, but it's very important for our lives that we need to humble ourselves to God and recognize who we are. You know, we are creatures from God. Talking about pride, it's easy to see pride in others. We can point that pride, but the lesson also talks about to search ourselves, our hearts. And yes, we recognize we are proud at times when you say, I did it. I will confess, a couple weeks ago I had a job interview, and I was very proud of what I know, what I do. I was saying, I know this.
Yep.
I was so arrogant
Yep.
that I didn't recognize God. I mean, I should have recognized God, that He gave me everything. But I said, yes, I know this. I was saying so much that now with this lesson, I recognize I was so proud of what I know and what so.
How interesting. I had a boss once, and he was very good, and he said, there's only one day a year that I want you to be boastful. And that is the day that we do your performance review. He said, the rest of the time, I don't want any of it. When we've all been in the workplace and you do a performance review, it's all about, well, what did you do? And so that was my boss's theory. He was like, feel free to be boastful on that day, but that's it. So I don't know. It worked. When speaking about a person's achievements or in the context of deep appreciation for something someone has done, I'm so proud of you. It's important to understand that pursuing excellence and acknowledge and appreciating gifts and abilities God has given us is not necessarily being proud. Is that a trap, though? It can be, right? Who's good at something? Tell me what you guys are good at. Mike, what are you good at?
My hair being perfect.
What are you good at? Well, do you go, I'm really good at this. What would it be? Everybody else is going to have to answer this, okay? We'll come back, Mike. Yes.
Well, I'm good at being judgmental.
You're being good at judgmental.
Yes.
Interesting. So, okay, so we'll just kind of put these down. You're good at being judgmental.
Not that I'm bothered.
That's okay. We're all friends here. What else? What are you guys good at?
I'll say,
No, go ahead.
I say God gave me the gift of that I am easy on math.
You're easy on what?
Mathematics.
You're good at math.
Yes.
Okay, so we're just gonna say, here's what I think I'm good at. Okay? So Guillermo is good at math. Linda is good at judging. What else are you guys good at? I am good at doing things with my hands, like building a deck and things like that. What are you guys good at? You guys have taken this lesson way too good being humble. You guys, we don't need this lesson, I'm telling you, and you got to tell what you're good at.
We need that lesson.
We don't need the lesson, we're done. We're done. What are you good at? Do you think God wants us to be good at stuff? Or does he go, I want a bunch of really mediocre people. I want a bunch of people who they don't know up from down. Is that what the Bible is saying? No pride there. right? There's no pride in mediocrity.
I'm good because God gave me that.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
We'll
I
get
mean,
there. We'll get there.
Now I cannot say I am good at it. It's because God gave me. God gave me that gift.
Okay.
If I just say I am good, I'm being proudful and just say I am. So that's
But
what
in
I'm saying.
a totally unbiased, you know if you're good at something, and right away we're gonna know the punchline. We are gonna know the punchline that says, well, these gifts come from God. Okay? However, let's go back and go, well, what are we good at?
Details sometimes.
Details. You're good at details. Excellent. Pat,
I guess I could say I'm good at helping other people.
definitely good at helping other people.
This lady called me up yesterday, or texted me. My card's not running. Could you go to CVS and get my medicine and it's $5.20 and bring it to me? Okay. And I went.
Yeah. You are very good at reaching out to people in the community. Awesome. What else are you guys good at?
That's my other thing I'm really good at.
Don, what are you good at?
Sitting on the couch.
Sitting on the couch. I don't believe that. I mean, maybe that you're good at.
Yeah,
What else are you good at?
Used to be. I am,
What were you good at? Painting. There you go. Like artistry or houses.
Like painting.
Very good.
this.
Okay. Excellent at painting.
Now he can't breathe hardly, so he's not even
Too many
good. He's
views.
sitting on the couch.
Yeah. Guillermo. Oh, Linda.
I'm punctual.
Punctual. Absolutely, that is a gift I don't have. Punctual.
I guess I'm good at making do and figure out a way around something if we don't have the right tool.
Ooh, the MacGyver. Very good at figuring things out. Making do.
With what
Excellent.
you have, not the right tools.
That is not a skill to be taken lightly. What else are we good at, guys? Mike, back to you. What are you good at?
How are we defining the term being good at something? I can't come up with anything. I mean, I'm proficient, make sure stuff is taken care of, and I don't really think about anything else beyond that.
Mike is good at speaking. Mike is very good at speaking. When he gets up and gives a sermon, gives a prayer, teaches a lesson, he's good at speaking.
And singing.
Guaranteed.
He also sings a song.
Very good at singing. See, we'll help you out here.
He's friendly. When he works, he's so friendly.
Mark, what are you good at?
Taxes?
Taxes.
CPA?
Where was he last week? Mark,
Why, people come at me all,
you're a little late for us. Okay, so back to this. So you go, we're all good at something, right? We all have what? A gift from God, right? We've got gifts from God. Now, how can we make sure that it is a gift and it's not pride overflowing? Yes, way back in the sound room.
It's always critical to remember where the gift came from. And to not internalize it as, because when we forget that, all we know is it's coming from us. And it's really easy for other people to see just that level of interaction.
Yeah.
If we're not constantly, connecting it back to the source and letting that pass through us, it's really easy to fall into the trap of, look at what I'm doing.
Exactly. So it flashed in my mind, you guys remember a famous boxer back in the day?
Cassius Clay.
Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali. What was his catchphrase?
I'm the greatest.
I I am the greatest, right? I am the greatest. How'd that make you feel when he said that?
He's talking the truth.
Yeah.
He was very good, right? At the time, he was the best boxer I've ever seen live.
That's right.
So you go, clearly Muhammad Ali he probably was the greatest, right?
That was his goal.
He probably was the greatest, right? How did it make you feel though when he would stand up there and go, I am the greatest? How did it make you feel?
You know, in that context, you see him as a boxer. When he says, I am the greatest, it was easy for me to say, I am the greatest boxer. And so it really didn't impact me because in that context, I know I'm not a great boxer. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. But, you know, if you try to just take the words, I am the greatest, it's like, ooh, man, I don't know you enough to make that kind of determination.
But at the same time, if you have to tell people all the time that you are the greatest, then maybe you're not.
Who are you trying to convince?
Which is the ego piece. But when he said, I am the greatest, it was probably true. He was probably the greatest boxer.
At that time.
At that time. Yeah, at that time. My dad would certainly say that. Oh, Silas.
Just wait a few years.
Right, yeah. So, when he said that, you would go, factually, he's probably what? Correct. Right? When he said that. But, were you on board? Were you going like, well, I'm on that train?
He didn't have to say it.
You didn't have what?
He didn't have to say it.
Exactly.
If you're the greatest in anything, you don't need to say it. People will say it for you.
In today's athletes, now so let's catch up a little bit. I don't know how much you guys watch sports, but it's actually kind of vogue right now when somebody wins a sporting event, okay? Mendoza, the quarterback for IU, okay? Quarterback for IU, they win the national championship, they put a microphone in his face, and what's the first thing he says? All gifts come from God. That's the first thing he says. All gifts come from God. Now, so you go, how do I contrast Muhammad Ali and Mendoza? How do both of them make you feel? Or does it straighten up? Or do you go, well, you know, nothing?
Pride versus humility.
What's that?
Pride versus humility.
There you go. Very good. Do you have a different feel for both of them? Okay. What is that feeling? Muhammad Ali, I am the greatest. I'm the greatest of all time. Don't you go, it's all missing. You are missing the impact of what God has given you, right? You're missing that. Now, how about Mendoza? When Mendoza goes, before we talk about anything else, he says, all gifts come from God. How does that make you feel?
If you're a Christian, respect.
If you're a Christian, it makes you
If you're
feel
not a
what?
Christian, I don't think you would look at it that way because you don't believe in God.
Right.
Depends upon who you're asking and what they believe, what their beliefs are.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a Christian would have respect.
As a Christian, how does that make you feel?
Respect him because he is given the glory to where that skill comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. So now let's go back to our skills. All the skills that we've got. Painting, taxes, judging. Discernment, speaking. So how do we stay in the boundaries here? When you go, oh, I'm really good at this. I'm good at painting. not let it get out of hand? And Don, let's say you paint 5 houses in a row. And people come and go, dude, this is the best I've ever had. You are the Michelangelo of houses. You have painted the best. There is nobody better at painting than you, Don. Now, what do we need to be careful with there?
Can't bang hand.
Ah, the big head. Does that mean your head is filling up with God and there's just no more room in there?
Pride.
It's pride, right? And is it easy to begin to believe people? More people, you're right. Maybe I am the greatest painter. Maybe I am the Michelangelo of houses, huh? If you say it enough, people start to think it's true. You believe it, you know? Okay, let's keep going. Monday, okay? Luke. Let's read Luke 18. Chapter 18, verse 9. Luke 18, 9 to 14. And he also told this parable to some of the people who trusted in themselves that they were righteous. Trusted in themselves that they were righteous. And viewed others with contempt. 2 men went up into the temple to pray. One was a Pharisee, the other was a CPA.
That's right. Guess who was forgetting? Tax collector.
The Pharisee stood and was praying this to himself. How do you think the Pharisee's going to pray? Before you read a Pharisee. How do you think this Pharisee's going to pray?
I know the law. What's he gonna say?
I've really done well. I had a great week.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I hit all the marks, right? That's kind of what the Pharisee's going to do, right? I came between the lines. I didn't
He even said all the things he did not do.
He'll say all the things that he did, right? Very legalistic, right? I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I did this, I did that. Right? The Pharisee stood and was praying to himself, God, I thank you that I am not like those other people. The swindlers, the unjust, the adulterers, and even like the CPA. I fast twice a week, I pay tithes on all I get. But the tax collector, standing some distance away, was even unwilling to lift his eyes up to heaven, but was beating his breast, saying, God be merciful to me, for I am a sinner. Verse 14. I tell you, this man went to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. Okay. So we have these gifts, but we don't want to exalt ourselves, right? Yes?
Seeing how Christ was speaking here as red letter, what I picked up on this was he was saying that this Pharisee was praying with himself, to himself. Whereas he was saying the sinner was praying directly to God. He was so wrapped up in himself and what he didn't do that God wasn't hearing his prayer. Because when Jesus said with thyself, himself, he's telling the audience God wasn't hearing him.
If you had to have one key word this week, in this week's lesson, it would be self, right? About pride, how we have too much pride, how pride gets in our way, it would all stem from self rather than God, right? So if we take nothing else away from the lesson this week, if we take nothing else away from the lesson this week, it's about not thinking of self, but thinking of God in all that we do and all of our gifts.
Keep your eye on Jesus.
Yeah,
Keep your eye on Jesus.
exactly, right? So what does God think of the proud? Very quickly, God thinks of the proud. You younger men, likewise, be subject to your elders, and all of you clothe yourself with humility toward one another. Do you think that's in today's social norms? Is humility prevalent? Clothe yourselves with humility towards one another. Well, what's one of the new occupations on the internet? It's to be an influencer, right? I'm going to be an influencer when I grow up. Mike, are you going to be an influencer later? When you retire, are you going to be an influencer?
I can't even influence my own cat.
For God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Repeating theme here, okay? So I don't want to drag this out. Okay. Tuesday. So tell me about Moses. What was the pedigree of Moses?
Levite.
What's that?
Came from the line of Levites.
Line of Levites, okay. Did Moses have a choice to make?
He didn't have a choice early on as a child. The choices were made for him, but later on he did.
Later on, so later on, what choices did he have to make here?
Whether or not to kill a person,
You know?
and then whether or not to be with the people of God versus the people of the world.
That was the big choice right there, right? That was the big choice right there that said, I could sit here and live comfortably with my skills, or I could leave all this behind and go, as God suggested, and do the will of God in the people. Right?
He was wanting to be a king too, wasn't he?
Exactly.
So, yeah, he gave up a lot. Worldly wise, he gave up a lot.
Yeah.
It was his mother, Jochebed, that implanted that value system. She was very intentional. Of course, she knew she gave him up. She was very diligent in teaching him to love and respect the spiritual things of God. So I credit the mother for his character.
Ooh, how about that? Yeah, exactly. Hebrews 11, 24 to 26. By faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be called the son of the Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to endure the ill treatment with God's people, rather than enjoy the passing pleasures of sin. Considering the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures of Egypt, for he was looking towards the reward.
Amen.
He was looking towards the reward. So what is faith? So in that in verse 24 it says, by faith, Moses, blah, 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 blah. Where does faith play in this whole role of pride? Or are they just passing? Are they just totally on different planes? Yes?
His faith was in error in the beginning. Think about it, because he was told, brought up by his mother, but he thought he was going to deliver his people, so use of force. He was protecting his people. So he had much to learn about humility. And we know after the fact that it took 40 years. So, he had faith that he was going to help his people. But here again, we're human. And if you're not seeing results right away, and he's in a powerful position, he sees his people being not with a soldier against them, but against themselves fighting. And he steps in and winds up killing one of the soldiers and runs for his life. So that part, now his faith is weak because he knows he's done something wrong. And haven't we all, it's a good illustration, we all either run or shut ourselves away because of what we've done. And we have to learn to come back to the Lord again because we know we've moved away. And so he ran, and then God took him where he was and brought him back, and his faith got stronger and stronger and stronger and purer.
So this whole faith idea, why do you have to have faith? What's the balance with faith and pride? Is there anything, or are they just totally different functions?
I'd say different.
Different.
Just try to think of yourself, faith, you probably have faith in God to get it done. Not faith.
So if I have a lot of faith, is it likely that I have a lot of pride? Or could I have a lot of faith and have no pride, or can I have a lot of faith and still have a lot of pride? What do you guys think? Are they just two different equations?
Faith in the existence of God. By having faith in the existence of God, then we recognize who we are again. We are a little thing compared to God. So by faith, we believe the Bible. We believe the history of Moses, David, and we believe of their examples. It's a belief because we have not seen it yet. So it's a faith that we have that put us in reality that who we are. And by having faith, we believe on that, and then we try to follow that.
So let's go back to the skill sets that we've got, okay? We talked about each one of us here, they've just rained all the skills that they've got. We said, what does everybody have? What's the skill that you've got? Okay. Earlier, it was just raining skills. On those skills, okay? On those skills, the ability to speak, do you have to say, well, but my faith, because of my faith, that's where my skills are coming from? Is there a correlation or not? Or do you, at any moment, I'm the best painter in the world, at any moment, God can take that away, right? Take it away, mercy, right? So do you have faith? Does your faith play a role in using your skills?
Yes.
No, you first have to know where your faith comes from.
From God.
Where's faith come from?
And we'll say that faith has to come from God. But in this context, faith comes
Because
from
Romans tells us God has dealt to every man a measure of faith. I grew up not knowing about faith because I never was taken to church. I had a grandmother who was a very faithful Christian, Seventh-day Adventist. But I had no connection because there was a distance and we would visit and stuff. So I understood she went to church, but I didn't have any faith. I didn't even know what gift from God. Pure and simple. And it was given to all of us, and we have the ability, once we become aware of God in the world, and the next step is in our life, then we have that gift that's already there to utilize. I never utilized it until I became a Christian, was aware of God, and that He gave me this gift.
By faith, Moses, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing, rather, to endure the ill treatment of the people of God. Okay, let's move on. All right. Wednesday. So, what did the disciples ask? The disciples, what was one of their questions?
Who's the greatest of them all?
They're going, "Oh, there's 12 of us here, Jesus. There's 12 of us. Which one of us is for the best?"
And we didn't ask only once, but there were several occasions. One time they even brought their mother in. Say, hey, we'd like to sit next to you to the left and on the right. And the other disciples, when they heard about it, they were incensed because they themselves coveted that position.
So how does this work? So you've got the disciples, closest people to Jesus. Absolutely the closest. And you go, well, which one really? Which one of us? What does that teach us? And why did the disciples, why did they go down to this road to go, okay, there's 12 of us here, which one is really number one? Why? What does it prove?
Looking for number one, looking at number one.
Absolutely. When they're trying to answer which one of us is the best, they're saying what? They're saying,
Am I?
I the best. Am I the best? Right? Right? Okay, so Luke 22, let's talk about it. Luke 22, verse 24. And there arose a dispute among them as to which one of them was regarded to be the greatest. They're all sitting around, chatting around the lunch table, right? The 12 disciples are chatting around the lunch table like they're at work, going,
I'm better than you.
which one of us do you think is the best? Is that surreal? You know, and so you go, for us we've read the book, and you go, those guys are crazy. What was going on with them? Right? Don't you look at that and you go, what was wrong with them? But
There's no understanding of their nation and their mission was built on a false premise. And that's what they were looking at. They didn't see things the way Jesus saw. John the Baptist, he knew that Jesus was righteous and wants to bring in righteousness, but he also thought that Israel would also be reign supreme. And they had scripture to back it up. So it's easy to fault them, but at the same time, coming from their worldview, it's also easy, you can understand it was easy thing to do.
it's easy to do, right? So you go, here you have the point. The point could be, you got 12 people who were the closest people to Jesus. And yet they stumble on, am I the best? So then you go, well, what does that mean for us?
Or less.
In that scene, I see the love of God and the patience of Jesus at that moment, where pride is playing in his disciples that lived with him for years. With that same pride, Satan, it all started. You know, in the beginning, Satan got a pride in himself, and that it causes for man to sin. Now Jesus is seeing that play at that moment with his disciples. And what Jesus does, he have the patience, the love, and he goes down and washes their feet to show them otherwise. Well, that's so wonderful.
Because he could have easily said, we need new 12. These guys didn't get it. Forget that, we need new 12. Maybe they'll figure it out.
I think in answer to your question, what this shows us is even though they were the closest physically to Jesus, Satan still got in there and had the focus on themselves rather than on God, which is the same thing for us today. We can be here in the church, but have everything turned around where it's always about me, and let me make sure that everybody else knows how great I am. And even though they were right on the doorstep, sitting right next to him, they still had their whole characters twisted, and he was trying to unknot them like he's trying to unknot us. So our focus is not on ourselves or what we can do or what we're able to do, but what we're able to do for him.
And remember one of the questions that we asked at the start of the lesson. It's all about pride. This week's lesson is about pride. Why do we need this lesson? Right? You say, well, why do we need this lesson? Come on, Mark. We know how this game works. We don't need this lesson. But here you have the 12 disciples. They needed a lesson, so clearly we need that lesson.
It's an amazing thing when you see the proximity of the disciples to Jesus, and they're hearing, but they're not listening. And I think that Jesus never, we see Jesus as a shepherd. I tend to see him as like a parent, and a parent never misses a teachable moment. And even though they're hearing the message, they're hearing what they need to see, they're not listening, they're not internalizing it. They're still fighting that self, that self priority.
Well, the best place to go and see that literally before your very eyes is at any U.S. airport, where people are hearing, but they're not listening.
We listen.
Sorry, Mike.
We listen, we just don't like the rules.
Oh, man.
Maybe Mike will be looking the other way and we'll just... Okay, verse 25. And he said to them, the Lord says, he said, the kings of the Gentile lord over it with them, and those who have authority over them are called benefactors. Verse 26. But it is not this way with you, but the one who is the greatest among you must become like the youngest, and the leader like the servant. Do you wake up every day and go, I'm going to be a servant? We probably should, right? Right? We are here to serve. Right? Yeah, that's our mission, right? Our mission is to serve. When we're not up here, I'm always, I got a mirror in front of me there. I'm going to talk to myself. For who is greater, the one who reclines at the table? Don, you read this part of the lesson. For who is greater, the one who reclines at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who reclines at the table? But I am among you as the one who serves. Okay, let's skip on to Thursday. Yet I am among you as the one who serves. Jesus, who every day gave to those in need around him, because he was filled with compassion, and saw the multitudes as sheep without a shepherd. Every day, filled with compassion, easy to say, hard to do. Easy to say, hard to do. What gets in our way of being compassionate?
Inconvenience.
Inconvenience, exactly. Inconvenience. Oh, but, I've got a million things to do today, and I'm over here being compassionate, I'm not gonna get this stuff done, right?
Selfishness too.
Selfishness. Compassion. Is that one of the founding principles that we should have? I think it's very tough, right? Being compassionate. All the time. So sometimes it's really easy to be compassionate, right? It's really easy. There's certain times, certain situations where you go, oh, it's really easy to be compassionate, Mark. You know? But a lot of times it's really difficult.
Especially if it's been 70 times 7.
If it's time driven. Those of us who every day get up and make a list of things you're going to do, it's difficult. Yeah.
Well, that means to be compassionate, we need to be in an intellectual mind space rather than the emotional mind space, because the two are not the same. And one dictates what we do for ourselves, and the other dictates what we do for others. See, because everything on this planet is driven by emotion. Very few intellectual observations or ways of life. When Jesus was here, he had the emotions, but he functioned in the intellectual sphere, where even though things were said and done to him physically, even when he was arraigned and mocked, he didn't respond like most people would normally expect you to respond when, somebody's deriding you, slapping you, mocking you. I mean, you expect people to curse back at you and threaten you, and if they have the opportunity, they'll break your arm or smash you in the nose. But to not do any of that doesn't make any sense from a human standpoint, because we're always focusing, or I shouldn't say focusing, but we're operating in the emotional mindset opposed to the intellectual. We have our moments intellectually, but mostly it's the emotional road that we're on, which means there's bumps all over the place.
Okay, review. We're just about done for today. What did we learn from today's lesson? Today's lesson was about pride. What did we learn today? Is it good to have a lot of pride? What causes us to have a lot of pride? Ego. Ego causes us to have a lot of pride. And when I have a lot of ego and a lot of pride, what's wrong with that?
Because we put in ourselves like God,
We put ourselves above God.
like God or about God,
Okay? Okay?
because God teaches us humility.
And so, did we learn anything about taking pride in our work? Good or bad? As a nurse, do you go, I want to take pride in taking care of my patients?
Comes naturally.
What?
It comes naturally, you don't have to think it, it just comes. as
It's a
part of
gift.
routine.
Where's the gift come from? Okay, so it is a different kind of pride when we go, I take pride in my work, I want to be very, very good at taking care of people, making sure my taxes are done. Right? Or is it the same thing? It just depends on who we give the thanks to. Where we know everything comes from.
You can do it in the smallest things. Take pride in is right, but clean my heart as I'm cleaning the dishes.
My ability,
Turn it into a prayer for the Lord.
my ability to have a skill doesn't come from me, right? As you said a minute, it doesn't come from me, right? We need to recognize that, right? What else have we learned? Anything else? Here's the review questions. What is pride? Pride is
So,
A sin, no? A sin.
pride is putting our accomplishments above what God gives us, right? It is taking out the relationship to God. Okay? If you've got a lot of pride, if you've got a big ego, you're forgetting where everything comes from. Okay? All right. What is the opposite of pride?
Humble.
Helpful,
Humble.
humble, humility, right? Humility, jot well done. Okay, so the opposite of being a very proud person, big ego person, is having a lot of humility. Do you like it when, who would you rather sit next to at dinner? Somebody who is very humble or somebody who is very proud with big ego? Who would you rather sit next to? Why does God take such a dim view of pride?
Because we're putting ourselves in first place instead of others. And
Absolutely.
Pride, when we have fellowship meal, you're at the front of the line, everybody else is behind you. Humility, you let everybody go first and you go last.
Okay. Could I be proud about that? Could I be using that wrong too? No, I'm pretty important. I'm gonna show how humble I am. Everybody, you go ahead of me. Go ahead of me. Right? Good. It could. Mark, go ahead. Any closing remarks on this lesson? Pride, humility? Yes.
One thing I want to say about that, even church, whose church? Us. Not everybody, a few of us, God knows, they just come sometime who they like, who is preaching, and they forget they have to come for God. Whatever the person who are preach,
Yep.
you need to come for God. You have to see God first.
Right.
Even somebody tell you how good you are, you remove that as that person give you turn it back to God. And God will bless you.
Last question. Did we need this lesson? Remember we said, do we really need this lesson on pride? And you go, yes, because here we had the 12 disciples, right? The 12 disciples who had been with Jesus their whole life said, which one's the best? So if that happens to them, we clearly need this lesson, right? If it can happen to the disciples, well, clearly we are going to be subject to pride and ego, right? It's me. It's me. I'm good. Okay, let's bow our heads as we close. Thank you, Lord, for giving us this hour today for all of the interaction between all of our members today. Let us walk in all humility and leave pride behind. Let us know that everything, all those good gifts, all the skills that we have, they only come from one source, and that is you and your love. Be with us now. Amen.